Well, I'm writing a book of essays. It is reached. It had reached more than 100 pages, and then I started cleaning it up a little, and then I shortened it to 40 odd pages, more to be added, and then it again expanded as I'm adding more stuff, and it has reached 60 or 70 pages. So it is going around like that. I have a lot of material that I've written over the years, and I thought I'll make this a short video just to record where it stands as of now. I had chosen the name Lonely Road, which is not final. I can, of course, change it, mainly because as I started exploring how my social activism mainly started as fighting against GMOs and later on more focused on glyphosate, became lonelier and lonelier as I parted ways from the general trend of where everybody else was going, and why I decided to carve out or chalk out a new path for myself, which is, as I said, got very lonely. Uh, Lonely or not, I've chosen that road. And then as I started writing about it, I thought that this problem of toxicity in our food, or this rising avalanche of bad health that is involved with the industrialization of food, as well as the medical practices which makes a lot of money by catering to, you can say, sick care, or catering to administering drugs or vaccines or many things that are profitable, but it can be argued whether it's really necessary, or to what extent it is actually beneficial. So all these things sort of ties up in my mind. It is part of a grander scheme, and that is when it became more or less difficult to avoid the possibility that, not that there was a conspiracy theory, but there was this agenda that was influencing what is happening to our food system, our health system, and all that. This is all part of a grander agenda. And then there is this talk about chemtrails. I find it very hard to believe that this is designed to kill off majority of the population, or how it can kill off the population without killing the biosphere as well. And also, whoever is doing it, they would also be harmed by the same thing. So it became difficult to uh, understand it as such. I can understand a geoengineering part of it, that it wants to increase the reflectivity of the planet and hopefully use that as a means to prevent it from overheating due to fossil fuel use and greenhouse gases and so on. I'm sure that the idea, if it is really that, will backfire, because we do not. I'm pretty sure now that the scientists know very little about how the planet works. Very, very little, although they talk about it a lot. So, and whatever we do in geoengineering or in any other way, it has a side effect. Everything has a side effect, and those side effects are, although not fully recognized or admitted at this point, side effects are themselves dangerous as the remedy, as whatever it is that you're trying to remedy. So it became increasingly difficult for me to just keep focus on one item, glyphosate, and not acknowledge that this is part of a bigger problem. It is a political problem. It cannot be solved outside of politics. And the resistance to fight back at it has to somehow learn to apply pressure to the political system. I don't know whether that is easy or practical, but this is something that is difficult to avoid from my side. I don't have a political ambition. I hate politics. I'm not very fond of politicians, honestly speaking, of any country. So at the same time, if it has to be a political problem, needs a political solution, there is a need to build up a grassroots movement of people. Now, how to do that without having a political ambition is $1 million question. I don't have the answer to that, but I can always try. And this is what I intend to do. And also, it's not that you have to always succeed. And trying itself is necessary rather than lying down and just say, no, it's going to screw up anything anyway, so don't have to do anything. So so this is my effort at doing something, something. And writing the book is part of it. Of course, I'm otherwise active in trying to pry out information from the government and so on. So anyway, so this is the title of The Lonely Lord. And then there are several sections. Why did I unpack myself? What is the meaning of unpack? Well, humans are behaving like pack animals. They go with the trend. And I have decided to break from the trend. And why? Why did I unpack myself? Why did I start behaving like I'm not part of the pack animal group? There is this issue of Donald Trump, glyphosate, and Cartagena Protocol. Actually, they are not related, but I put them in anyway. Most people don't know what is Cartagena Protocol. I liked Raj Patel's comment on his book, The Value of Nothing. There he used this term, if war is God's way of teaching Americans geography, then recession may be his way of teaching them a little bit of economics. So I borrowed from that and I changed it to say that if war is God's way of teaching Americans geography, Donald Trump then may be his way of teaching them a little bit of politics. Anyway, this is just this chapter is about basically glyphosate, Cartagena Protocol, United Nations Convention on Protection of Biodiversity, how it was conceptualized, how it came to be, how Canada and USA is acting like rogue nations. They don't want to support it. They don't want to support the motion of the convention to preserve biological diversity. It is a shameful situation out of which the USA never wanted to support it right from beginning, but Canada did want to support it when it was first became a official resolution back in 1992. But now they don't want to ratify it, so they have not put country-specific laws on it, and it's turned into a rogue nation, and it's shameful. And I found that most of the Canadians don't even know about it. So anyway, so I mentioned this thing, and now I see, as I keep track of this particular convention, that it itself is being diluted continuously by American interest or corporate interest, and now they want to change this entire convention to say that biological diversity and preservation is one thing, but now we have to be more careful about rising population and need to have some sort of food rather than just cleanest of food, and we have to keep our priorities right and blah blah blah. So I see it is being continuously diluted, and I don't find enough people who I have not found a single person who is willing to who is knowledgeable about these changes happening behind the scene in the United Nations, and about this convention and how it is being infiltrated and polluted. I don't have any expert to talk to. So meanwhile, there are these issues of what Obama thinks about with regard to biodiversity or climate change or GMO and things like that, and what Hillary Clinton says and what Trump says. And according to me, Trump is being vilified as a rogue because he doesn't believe in half of the things that the liberals like to say they believe in. But according to me, the difference between Hillary Clinton and Trump, or Obama and Trump, when it comes to either climate change or GMO or pesticide, is just cosmetic. There is really no difference. What they say is different, but what they believe and what they will do is not different. Both of them will ruin this planet. All of them will ruin this planet. I have not found a single person among the politicians who actually believes that we are screwing ourselves and we have to change the very way we live. There is no way you can solve these problems without turning your lifestyle on its head. There is no other way. And none of the politicians are willing to talk about it. None of the citizens are willing to talk about it. Actually, very, very few people, very few, maybe one in several million, actually are willing to make that change to totally transform their lifestyle into a system which demands very little industrial output and wants to leave very little footprint on the ground. Very, very few, very few. So as a result, the difference between them, according to me, is just cosmetic. In fact, I am part of the system that is the problem. I live a lifestyle that is unsustainable. I myself is essentially an unfit person to talk about sustainability. People like us need to go extinct, according to me, So I'm not particularly unhappy that things are coming to a head, and hopefully all of us will find ourselves, the mankind will find itself difficult to maintain itself. Along with many other species, we will make ourselves extinct and hopefully leave the rest of the planet to evolve into another, some sort of a temporary equilibrium of some kind. And till the earth dies and the sun explodes and so on. So anyway, so this is section 2. Then I decide to make another one on the passing away of Fidel Castro, and there is the Castro is another good example of the propaganda that's going on in the world, and whether it's good or bad, there is always two sides of the story. I personally think that his good are much more than his bad. This section is about Canadian Food Inspection Agency, my letter to them. And eventually they actually responded that they are beginning to test food for glyphosate. It's an involved subject in itself, and I will come to that in this section. And then Jill Stein's fall from grace. I am quite disappointed with what's going on with Jill Stein. At one time I used to think quite highly of her. I used to like Bernie Sanders too, but then when she sent me this note, which is not addressed to me personally, but to millions, I don't know how many, and that she saw compelling evidence of voting anomalies, and therefore she is demanding that recount happen. I think it's a crock of shit, and there is no compelling evidence, and she is not doing it for preservation of our the U.S. democracy. She is doing it for a personal, selfish reason. I don't know what the reason is, but it could very well be that she wants more visibility for all, even if it at the expense of her credibility, and that's what she's doing now. She's milking this anti-Trump sentiment to further her personal cause. If this was being asked by Clinton, who had, of course, who has everything to gain, if the voting was, if the counting was not right and so on, and if she won some other states instead of losing, she has everything to gain, and I could understand her asking for this recount. But Jill Stein, come on. So anyway, she has fallen from grace, and I decided to write a chapter. I'm not shy to say, call a spade, whatever I think is a spade. Then stepping outside of the leftist box, I have now seriously started considering this leftist progressive blog has got something wrong with them. This Michael Moore and even Noam Chomsky and Democracy Now!, the way they consider Hillary Clinton to be better than Trump, the way they continue to project, I don't know about Chomsky, but the rest of them, about Syria and about the global warfare, warmongering, about the climate change issues and the sorry story of USA, Canada, and Australia, and how they sidestep these issues and keep blaming Trump for being a climate rogue or something, and avoid the fact that we are climate rogues for a very long time, and Obama is no better, or Hillary is absolutely no better, absolutely no better. The difference is only cosmetic. I am fed up with all this so-called leftist, and I decided that I might consider myself a progressive, but I do not consider these guys to be progressive. These guys are all bloody, either they don't know what they're talking about, which is hard to believe, or they're just humbug. Then there is a chapter about my mother, a write-up that is going to be part of another book being published anytime now, back in India. Why I wrote about my mother is interesting, but I think she she spent her life in basically social reform related work. I think she considered it part of her duty to do something. All that was in India, but I think I might have inherited some of her thinking, and therefore applying it in my own way after I retired here in Canada. That's my mother sitting in the middle. This is my mother with Tagore. Tagore is the first Asian to win a Nobel Prize. He was the first Asian and also first non-white to win a Nobel Prize. In his case, he got it in literature in 1913, and this is in 1940, and he's quite old and not keeping well. That's my mother. 15-year-old, when she passed out from school, she went and asked, to be for him to come out so that they could take a group picture, and I separated this out. She's 15-year-old. Anyway, so this is one section on my mother. Age of Anthropocene, very important in my view at least, is that man has really screwed up the planet, and there are many different views on it, but the Gaia theory by James Lovelock is one important one. I have read many of his books, and I thought I'll write something about it. Age of Anthropocene. And then there is also the issue of Syria. The chapters and the sections may be, reorganized. Something may go down into another chapter, some may go up, some may be clubbed together, and so on. So what's up with Syria is another that I had to write because it's part of the same global agenda. And Assad is being painted as a rogue guy by the West, spearheaded by Obama, and then he is being supported, Assad, by Putin. So Putin has become a bad guy who is, hurting democracy, so to speak, which is a pack of lies. And now in the United Nations, China, for the first time, has vetoed a resolution on ceasefire in Syria, along with Russia. So this seems to be the new axis that is emerging. Very interesting situation. And among the temporary members of the Security Council, Maduro government of Venezuela also vetoed this resolution. It is interesting to note that India, I don't think India is in the, no, India is not in the Temporary Security Council, but there was a motion, similar motion brought forward by Canada, shamefully, on the General Assembly to pass a resolution which doesn't have to, which is not binding, and which can pass if there is a majority in support of it. So they did ask for a ceasefire, which China and Russia had vetoed in the Security Council, which is the only one which has teeth. So in the General Assembly, Canada proposed that, and more than 100 countries supported it. 13 countries opposed it. I don't know which the 13 countries are, and a number of countries abstained, and India abstained from it on very interesting reason. And they said that this resolution mixes up multiple things. On one side, it says that it wants that ceasefire for humanitarian reasons to reach medicines to the trapped people and all that, but it also mixes up many political and military items together, all in a one basket. And in general, India doesn't like to vote when these multiple elements are mixed up together, so you cannot separate one from the other. So we are going to abstain. So all this is interesting development, part of the grand scheme of what's going on in the world, and how USA wants to extend its hegemony and bring forward this so-called 21st century, which should belong to USA. I don't think it is going to belong to USA. I don't think USA has it in itself to actually. It's not at the peak. It's a waning power itself, and it's unsustainable. Whatever it is doing with its own society and with its own economy and warmongering and everything. So anyway. I thought that Syria is an interesting point, at an interesting point, and I should also write about it. So these are the things. I've removed quite a few sections already, and I'll be adding quite a few more. But I thought I'll just write about it here and make a short video.